There have long been reports that Tim Walz has weird connections to China. We might remember his debate performance where he lied about being in Tiananmen Square on the day when nothing happened, actually. Nothing happened in Tiananmen Square. I don't know if you guys knew this, but that's just because I want my social credit score to increase by 1 Bergerian points. But anyway, this story comes to us from the Daily Mail. I have a version of it available on vt.com if you're interested in finding out more about it. But per the Daily Mail, Tim Walz had a secret fling with the daughter of a high-ranking communist official during his 1989 teaching stint in China. Jenna Wang, 59, claims the VP hopeful showered her with gifts and seduced her at the school in Guangdong province. The lovers could not risk holding hands or showing affection in public because Wang's dad was a high-ranking figure in the Chinese Communist Party who would disown her for fraternizing with a Westerner.
Hold on, that's now, on the left?
Yeah, that's her when she was 24 during the relationship, and on the left is her now at age 59. So did I do this entire segment just to say that Tim Walz was getting Wang in China? Maybe.
No, but you appreciate it. We've gone from Eric Swalwell going bang bang with Fang Fang to Tim Walz doing bang with Wang. I mean, this is...
Wow. Nice.
I mean, the jokes write themselves here.
Yes.
Sorry, I cut you off there, Connor.
No, of course. I mean, like I said, this may or may not be the whole reason I decided to do this. Woo! But this is Jenna Wang's father. He was a union boss and would have disapproved of the relationship, so they had to sneak around behind their backs. Now, to clarify, because I want to get out ahead of this is a weird breaking thing right before the election to hear nothing from 1990 and then suddenly comes out that this relationship took place. The allegation is not that Tim Walz was affiliated with the Chinese Communist Party, but rather that he was carrying on an affair with the daughter of a member, but everybody in China, essentially, if you want to be successful, is a member of the CCP. But it's odd that it's coming out now. So to continue, according to what Jenna Wang was saying to the Daily Mail, Tim was very passionate and very romantic. I can still remember dancing with him to our favorite song, Careless Whisper. The fact that we couldn't touch or kiss in public just made it all the more exciting and intense when we were finally alone. We were deeply in love, and I wanted to marry him and start a family. When it didn't happen, I felt very unhappy and sad. Tim's behavior was very selfish.
Hold on.
This is a picture.
She wrote
this about...
in a public statement.
Yes, to the Daily Mail. That's what she said. This was Tim Walz in 1990.
Ew.
So, I mean...
This is confirming a lot of my suspicions that he's always been one heck of a pervy weirdo.
Yeah, definite heterosexual Tim Walz was no better looking in his...
But hey, Careless Whisper, that's a banger. I'm sorry.
The issue...
A lot of babies get made to that song.
The issue, I'd be less shocked that he actually had sexual relations while on vacation or visiting China. The issue, I think, is how many times he visited China. Do you know that offhand?
Yeah. He did a stint in 1989, which is when this relationship started. It continued on and off for several years. Then I believe by 1991, 92, he was leading student trips over there. So his relationship with Jenna Wang continued until I believe it was 92. So they were on and off. You would see her when he was there. They would go out. They were concerned about the relationship getting back to her father, of course, because that would have been a huge scandal. According to Jenna, he couldn't sing, and when he tried to dance, he found it very hard. I could tell he was in the military, but we talked for hours and hours. We stayed in bed. We had sex. He continued to buy me gifts. I could never stay overnight because of social convention. But things fell apart in 1992.
Now I'm visualizing Tim Walz having sex, and I feel a little sick.
No.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, well.
Careless Whispers in the background. I already have the mental picture. I'm going to have to drink bleach after this.
Oh.
Yeah.
A lot of it.
But she raised the subject in 1992 of them getting married and her moving to the United States with him. She wanted to live in Nebraska with him, which is where he was living at the time. And he suggested that the only reason she wanted to marry him was to obtain a U.S. passport. So after a multi-year relationship, he said, "Oh, you're only with me to get to the U.S." And, quote, this was very offensive. I said to him that it is both or nothing. I wasn't giving up my life and my position to move to Nebraska, a cold place in the middle of nowhere that most Chinese people had never heard of, which accurately describes Nebraska. I was giving it up to be with Tim to get married and start a family. Knowing now that he wasn't going to marry me made me feel cheap and common, as if I was being treated like a prostitute. So, glowing review of Tim Walz's merits as a romantic partner.
In an alternative timeline, when he wasn't, is this racism? Is it like countryism? Well,
for it.
yeah. She would have been an upgrade to his wife right now. God,
Well, anything is. Have you seen
that lady's insufferable.
Well, I think the misunderstanding was that she was marrying. He was fearing that she was marrying him to get U.S. citizenship when he was actually interested in her so he could get Chinese citizenship. Bada bing, bada boom.
Oh, wow.
This reeks a little bit of an operation. I mean, first of all, even if it's true, so they had a relationship decades ago, coming out now, and that sentence about she felt a bit like a prostitute sort of reminds me of, was it
Operation Midnight Climax?
No, Stormy Daniels when she says, "I felt drugged and I felt exploited." Like that's a very
script,
a hyperbolic,
That's like
inflammatory
your
way of
opinion,
describing.
man.
Yeah. But anyway, I do want to address why it's coming out right now, because I agree with Viva. I'm actually skeptical, as I believe we all should be, about things that come out weeks before an election that reflect poorly on candidates. This is what she said about why she's coming out. Tim lied about Tiananmen Square and that he's lied about other things. This is a very crucial moment in history, and a man like this does not appear to have the character and integrity to do one of the most important jobs in the world. I have the clip of him at the debate giving his non-answer about why he has lied repeatedly about being in Tiananmen Square.
Can be a bit of a knucklehead.
Governor, just to follow up on that, the question was, can you explain the discrepancy?
All I said on this was I got there that summer and misspoke on this. So I will just, that's what I've said. So I was in Hong Kong and China during the democracy protests, went in. And from that, I learned a lot of what needed to be in governance.
Someone needs
Thank
to
you,
add
Governor.
the flaming emoji around his head, like from the Simpsons episode with Mayor Quimby, like flames added by CBS News. I'm going to take this next level 4D fakie. The Tim Walz campaign is leaking this story to prove that he's heterosexual.
Oh, wow.
There and that
There
he's a
we go.
ladies' man. Like wherever he travels, he hooks up and he has sex for a long period of time with a woman in
What
bed.
is that?
It's a careless whisper, no less. But the connections between Tim Walz and members of the Chinese Communist Party aren't limited to just this relationship. I reference back to this older article from the New York Post a couple weeks ago that China saw Tim Walz as a target before VP pick and, quote, someone they can get to DC, according to Department of Homeland Security messages. To quote from that article, the Chinese Communist Party saw Tim Walz as a prime target for its influence operations in the U.S., according to internal Department of Homeland Security communications. To quote from that, "You have no idea how this feeds into what the People's Republic of China has been doing here with him and local government," a DHS official wrote August 6 on an internal nation-state threat chat that was leaked by a whistleblower. "It's seriously a line of the intel, target someone who they perceived can get to D.C." So basically, there was a subpoena put out by James Comer, trying to determine what the connections between Tim Walz and the CCP are. So right now, in the midst of this allegation about the relationship, there's a official congressional inquiry into ties between Tim Walz and China, because his frequent trips and the fact that he honeymooned with his wife there. They started going there after they got together. Like less than a year after he left Jenna Wang. So, I mean, quick rebound. If your rebound is Gwen Walz,
It must have been
that's
awkward.
unfortunate.
Yeah, but also, how do you go from like, you presume people have not proclivities but preferences in physical. How do you go from Jenna Wang to his current wife? I mean, they couldn't be really more opposite.
Well, I mean,
physically.
I guess after many years being surrounded by nothing but Asian women, he went for the woman with the largest eyes he could possibly find. Wide-eyed. 52 days until we are turning the page.
Did he wasn't married? It wasn't an affair. They were just having a relationship.
Both of them were single and they were young and they got together and then they broke up. But it seems like he was kind of a jerk the entire time.
All right, I'm giving Tim Walz a pass on this one. You know what? Now, the thing that it makes him despicable is his performance at Madden. With 100 million copies sold. Like over time, like him with the AOC, you showed the clip when they talked. That was from the Madden edition. They did live streaming. They went 0-0. Like
But they weren't actually playing though.
no, they had the controllers disconnected. How fake are they?
Whoa. Is that true?
Yeah, it was off.
Yeah.
Are you sure they weren't? Like they were actually
see,
turned off?
these are the types of scandals that I think are more important, like that McDonald's commercial that Kamala Harris put out that I strongly suspect is an actress, and that they lie about like an authentic. The faking authenticity.
Yeah.
You're lying. You're lying.
You're lying.
They're like, oh, look, we're real
Holy
people.
hell.
We're not swamp creatures. We really play Madden just like you. But it's
I
like
find
somebody
that
else playing the game.
I find that offensive. Like Brandon, actually, he witnessed my first game ever of Madden. You know,
Yeah.
and I held
It's
my
not that hard
ground.
to play Madden.
I held my ground. You know.
Now, look, if they were playing FIFA, then a score of 0-0 would have made sense because that's how every soccer game in history goes.
Hey.
You watch dudes run back and forth down the field for 4.5 hours to end in a 0-0 tie.
First of all, it's 90 minutes, and it's a
Right.
very intense and popular game that's going
Not
to
enough action for America.
Yeah.
The bigger issue with Tim Walz, it won't get much more serious in my view than potential ties to China, but I mean that wouldn't even sink him. You see, who was it? The New Yorker that had a Chinese spy infiltrator cabinet?
Eric Swalwell?
No, Swalwell was California. There was just one recently about a Chinese spy in New York. I want to say Hochul.
Yeah.
There's
It was
obvious foreign interference, foreign meddling. Not from Russia and not to help Trump, but we can set that aside. Walz's bigger issue is the fact that he let Minneapolis burn, that he is a pathological liar for stolen valor, and this is almost a distraction to make him look like a human. He had a relationship, and he did this with a woman. I'll give him a hard pass, pun intended.
No, I
pass.
I
Hard
can
pass.
see his Q start going up from this if it's just a hookup scandal.
Agreed. It seems like a net positive for him. Yeah.
I mean, he'd hardly be the first politician derailed by Chinese wing.
No, but at least she wasn't even a spy. Like Swalwell, I don't know how people survive, politically speaking, how they survive these.
That's crazy.